This happened to me a while ago. I'm going into 7th grade now, so this happened around 1st grade. I've always had sleep paralysis for as long as I can remember, but nothing too serious until I started getting visions in the 1st grade. I know many have had an imaginary friend at some point, but mine only showed up when I had sleep paralysis. I'd wake up and try to move, and see it standing at the end of my twin bed. It would just wave to me. I was never really scared of it. It was pretty much just a black mass, except for its abdomen, which were like exposed ribs, and its fingers, which looked like long needles. It had no eyes and this very big grin with jagged teeth that were of yellow colour. It started to show up more after I was beginning to get bullied. When the bullying got worse, the thing started to show up more and more. When I woke up, it would follow me around and say nothing, and it followed me everywhere. When my bullies started beating me up, or would hurt or yell at me, it would get all riled up and scream at me in some garbled voice that was really deep, and I could just about manage to understand it. It would say things like, "They're hurting you," which means you can hurt them, and some other pretty messed up things. Yeah. I still see it, but no one knows what it tells me to do. After all the time I've had it, I've noticed it gets more crazy, or it'll become more active and aggressive when I'm angry. It feeds off my anger, I guess, if that makes sense. And over time, I admit, I get riled up over blood and gore, and have at least twice thought of doing what it told me, and went over the edge thinking of it. And that's when it tells me to do it, when I lose control of myself. I'm working on it though. One day I was sleeping, I felt someone walk in my room. I was home alone, but I wasn't scared because I thought it was my grandmother. I had to open my eyes because she would wake me up and give me tasks to do, so I was pretending to be asleep. I opened my eyes a little bit. I didn't see the face, but it was a woman, and it seemed like Grandma. She was standing near the entrance of my room for a minute, staring at me, and then she came to stand in front of me. She tried to kiss me on the cheek, but she hesitated. She went back and forth a few times, and then she finally kissed me. When I woke up after a few hours, my father was home, and I asked him if someone had come whilst he was out, especially Grandma, and he said no. It didn't creep me out because I knew it was my grandma. I didn't tell him that she came to visit me. The next day I wanted to call Grandma to ask her if she had come, and before I asked, she said to me that she's coming tomorrow because she hasn't seen me in weeks. No one else I knew could have entered my house that day. I felt like I had to get this off my chest, since it's been bothering me for so long. It all started when I was about 4 or 6. I was an only child that was also homeschooled, so I didn't really have many friends. The friends that I did have, though, were really nice. I was first told about this by my mother. She always said that when I was younger, around 3 or 4, I would always talk to my imaginary friend. I was told that I would describe this friend as an old man in an old-timey outfit, that I would talk to this man for hours on end, in the closets, in our old antique rocking chair, and sometimes in our backyard. When I ate my meals, he was sitting next to me. When I was sleeping, he would read me bedtime stories. Everywhere I went, he was there. I don't know why, but I just remember him having this white glow around him. As a young child, you never really think that your friends would want to hurt you, right? I was living in California at the time, then moved to Indiana. I mostly forgot about this man. Recently, I've been noticing things, odd things only I would understand or see. For example, I would feel uncomfortable in my closet. Whenever I went outside, I could see a tall figure in the corner of my eye. Now, it's starting to get out of control. Lights keep flickering or going dim. I've been finding very odd photos of old-timey families around the house, but even worse, I've been having these dreams. These dreams, they feel so real. like I'm there. I can interact with everything. I can feel everything. I've been having dreams where it feels as if I'm going to a different realm or something of the sorts. Most importantly, I've been seeing him, the man from my childhood. He's in my room right now. He's reading me bedtime stories. He tells me that I should come with him to meet his friends, his wife, and Brandon. I don't know if I should stay or if I should go with him. First of all, I'll give you some information about what a Wendigo is. Stories of Wendigos started in Canada and the US. In Algonquian folklore, the Wendigo, or Wendigo, also Wetiko, is a mythical man-eating creature or evil spirit that is native to the northern forests of the Atlantic coast and the Great Lakes region of the United States and Canada. The Wendigo may appear as a monster with some characteristics of a human, or as a spirit who has possessed a human and made them become monstrous. It is historically associated with murder, insatiable greed, and the cultural taboos against such behaviours. I have an uncle who really liked exploring forests and hiking in extreme environment conditions. One day he told me he was really curious about a forest that was famous at the time. All his internet friends were telling stories about weird creatures they call Wendigos and how these monsters love to eat human meat. So he packed some items he'd need and went to Canada to explore the forest by himself. When he'd finally arrived, it was nighttime and he was scared and excited at the same time. He told me that he was walking deeper and deeper into the forest. He was feeling more and more uncomfortable. At some point he felt a pain in his neck, like someone was hanging him from a tree. He looked up and what he saw makes him still cry to this day. He saw a human figure staring at him. The creature was on top of a really tall tree. Then he pointed his flashlight and froze. It was a tall creature that was at least 2 meters in height and thin, with sharp teeth and black eyes looking like deep dark holes. Blood was everywhere in some pieces of clothing that it was still wearing. It looked like a heavily decomposed dead person, my uncle told me. He immediately ran back to the parking place where he'd left his car. He was about 600 meters from his car, but it felt like he had run a marathon. At the middle of the trail he heard a scream, like an animal was screaming. He reached his car and immediately left the place. The next day he left the country. He is now a friar, and every day he prays to God and begs him to not allow anyone else experience what he had that night. Thanks for reading. Please be careful and stay away from such places, because sometimes there is a reason that people are afraid to visit them.